Hello and welcome back to the British Accent Podcast. I'm Emily.
And I'm Nick. It's good to have you here. Today we're talking about something very human and very real, those heavy moments. The ones that sneak up on you, or sometimes crash right in, and leave you feeling completely overwhelmed.
Yeah, the kind of moments where your chest tightens, thoughts spiral, and even something as simple as breathing feels like a task. We all have them, whether we talk about them or not. And in those moments, the first instinct is often to escape, to fix, to numb, or to pretend it's not happening.
But what if the way through isn't to push it away, but to stay with it, and breathe through it? Not to change everything instantly, but to find steadiness in the middle of the storm. Just one breath at a time.
Because when things feel too heavy, the most powerful thing you can do is come back to something small, like your breath. It sounds simple, almost too simple. But when everything feels out of control, reconnecting to your breath reminds you that you're still here. Still grounded.
And you don't need to have the right words. You don't need to solve the problem straight away. You just need to stay with yourself. Inhale. Exhale. No judgment. No pressure to be okay straight away. Just presence.
Because the weight won't always lift immediately. But you can learn to carry it more gently. You can learn to breathe through it, to give yourself space within it, and to trust that not every heavy moment means you're falling apart. Sometimes it's just a sign to pause and feel.
And honestly, that pause is everything. It's not weakness. It's not giving up. It's you recognizing that your nervous system is overloaded, your heart is full, and you need a moment. Not to run away, but to ground yourself.
And grounding doesn't mean pretending everything's fine. It means noticing what's true right now, your feet on the floor, the rise and fall of your breath, the sound of your voice if you speak gently to yourself. It's coming back to the present when the weight of the past or future feels too much.
Because in heavy moments, your mind might race ahead, trying to predict outcomes, fix things, replay regrets. But your breath always brings you back to now. And right now is manageable. One breath at a time usually is.
It's also important to say that you don't need to go through it perfectly. You don't have to handle everything with grace or wisdom. Sometimes just not spiraling further, that is the win. That's the strength.
Yeah. Just staying here. Just not shutting down. Just not abandoning yourself in the moment that feels too much, that's courage. It might not look dramatic, but it's powerful in its quiet way.
And maybe that's what breathing through the heaviness really means. Not pushing it away, not denying it, but letting it pass through you slowly. Like a wave that doesn't need to be fought, only felt. Only survived.
And you don't need to explain it to anyone. You don't need to justify why it feels heavy. Sometimes, things just are. Life gets loud, grief lingers, pressure builds, and your body feels it even before your mind can catch up.
And maybe you're not meant to have all the answers in that moment. Maybe you're just meant to stay. To keep breathing. To remind yourself that this moment will pass. Because it always does, even if it doesn't feel like it yet.
I think we often underestimate the healing power of just sitting with yourself and letting the tears come, or letting the silence speak, or letting the air move through your lungs while the world feels heavy.
Yeah. And that's not giving up. That's staying present. That's saying, this hurts, and I'm still here. That's choosing not to shut down, even when everything in you wants to disappear. And that's something to be proud of.
Even the smallest breath counts. Even the tiniest effort to stay grounded, to place your hand over your heart and say, this is hard, but I'm trying, that matters. That's resilience in real time.
And in those heavy moments, maybe that's all you need to focus on. Not the full solution, not the whole plan, just the next breath. Just the next few seconds. Just one moment of presence, then another. Letting that be enough.
Because sometimes the heaviness doesn't need a quick fix. It just needs room. Space to exist without judgment. And that space begins with breath, with choosing to stay soft when everything feels sharp.
You can still be struggling and be healing at the same time. You can be overwhelmed and still worthy of care. And even if all you did today was breathe through a moment that felt unbearable, that's something. That's more than something, it's everything.
We're not taught to value those moments. We're taught to keep going, keep pushing, stay productive. But healing often asks you to slow down. To listen in. To feel what's true, even when it's uncomfortable.
And sometimes that truth is simply, I'm not okay right now. And that's allowed. That's honest. That's human. You don't need to mask it. You don't need to turn it into something poetic or powerful. Just being with it is enough.
And in that space, your breath becomes your anchor. The thing you can return to when everything else feels shaky. No big expectations. No pressure to transform. Just the quiet rhythm of being alive and getting through one moment at a time.
And that's the practice, really. Not escaping. Not pretending. But returning, to yourself, to the moment, to the breath. And trusting that the heaviness, like everything else, will shift in time. It always does.
And while you're in it, you don't have to rush the process. There's no need to snap out of it, or find a silver lining straight away. Some experiences are just heavy. Some moments just ache. And the kindest thing you can do is not demand that you bounce back before you're ready.
Right? It's okay to sit in the middle of it and not have answers. It's okay if your breath is shaky. It still counts. You're still trying. And sometimes, that effort, to breathe when everything feels tight, is the most honest kind of strength there is.
And it's often in those quiet, uncelebrated efforts where your deepest resilience grows. Not when you've solved everything or looked fine on the outside, but in the moments you chose not to shut down. You stayed. You breathed.
And that becomes the pattern you return to, every time life gets too loud. You remember, I felt like this before. I made it through. I can breathe through this too. Not perfectly, not gracefully. Just one breath, one moment, one honest pause at a time.
So if today feels too heavy to carry all at once, maybe don't. Maybe just carry this breath. This heartbeat. This tiny moment where you remember, you're still here. You're still trying. And that is enough for now.
And when you start to treat those heavy moments with softness instead of shame, something shifts. You realize you don't have to fight yourself to survive them. You don't have to be angry at the fact that you're feeling deeply. You just have to stay with yourself gently.
And that gentleness, it's not passive. It's not weak. It's a choice. A strong, intentional one. To respond to your own pain with care instead of criticism. To stop asking, what's wrong with me, and start saying, this is hard, and I'm here.
Because sometimes the strongest thing you'll do all day is not give up on yourself in the middle of the heaviness. Not push it down. Not pretend you're fine. Just witness it. Breathe through it. And trust that you're allowed to feel all of it without fixing it.
And maybe that's how you move forward, not with big leaps, but with quiet staying. With patience, presence, and permission to feel. The kind of movement that doesn't always look like progress, but is.
So if you're in one of those moments now, where everything feels too loud, too much, let this be your reminder. You don't have to do anything heroic. You just have to breathe. Come back to yourself. Come back to this moment. And let that be enough.
And if your breath feels uneven or shallow, that's okay too. You're not doing it wrong. The goal isn't to be calm immediately, it's just to stay. To not run from yourself. To let your breath meet you exactly where you are, without rushing it forward.
There's something really powerful about learning to sit beside your pain instead of pushing it away. To say, I'll keep you company while you pass through. You don't need to wrestle with it. You don't need to be at war with yourself.
And eventually, something in you begins to soften. The grip loosens. The weight doesn't vanish, but it becomes a little more bearable. Because you're no longer carrying it alone. You're carrying it with awareness. With breath. With grace.
That's what breath gives you, a little space between you and the overwhelm. Enough space to remind yourself, I can survive this moment. I don't have to rush to the next one. I can be here.
And even if everything around you is uncertain, your breath remains steady. A rhythm you can return to when the world feels too loud, too fast, too much. It's a reminder that even in the hardest moments, you're still alive. Still grounded. Still trying.
So take one now. Just one breath. Deep, slow, kind. Not to fix anything. Not to change the moment. Just to remind yourself, you're still here. And that matters.
And maybe that's enough for now. Not answers. Not clarity. Not a grand breakthrough. Just this breath. This awareness. This quiet act of staying with yourself when it would be easier to disconnect.
Because healing rarely announces itself. It often looks like silence. Like tears you don't fully understand. Like sitting in the dark without needing to switch the light on right away. And still, you're healing. Still, you're moving through.
It's not about being strong all the time. It's about letting yourself feel when things are heavy. Letting your breath be slow, messy, uneven, because at least it's real. At least it's you, showing up for yourself in the most honest way possible.
And that honesty builds something over time. A kind of trust in yourself. A belief that no matter how overwhelmed you feel, you can return here, to the breath, to the body, to this moment. You don't need to rush past it. You just need to breathe inside it.
So when the weight comes again, and it will, you'll know what to do. You'll remember this place. This rhythm. This quiet strength. Not because it's easy, but because it's true. And that truth lives in you even when the world feels heavy.
So if today feels like too much, we just want to remind you, you're not broken. You're not behind. You're just human, and it's okay to feel everything deeply.
And in those moments when everything feels too heavy, remember, you don't have to fix it all. You don't have to carry it perfectly. You only have to stay. To breathe. To come back to yourself with softness.
Thanks for being here with us today. We hope this space gave you even just a little bit of peace to hold on to. Something gentle to carry forward.
You're listening to the British Accent Podcast. Until next time, breathe slow, stay kind to yourself, and know that even in the quietest moments, you're never alone.